Oh wait, it was deleted on Facebook. What?
It says I'm watching the stream right now on my other side, and right now I see it's going to start 8 minutes and 25 seconds.
Looks like this broadcast was deleted on Facebook. To stream Facebook, create a new broadcast.
Oh,
just remove it.
Do you mind putting my face up real quick? I just want to see if that focused.
Yo, it just so you guys know, it's live. It's starting.
It looks like the Facebook one got deleted though. So
I guess I don't know why it's not working well, but
so we'd have to start a new one to make the Facebook one, which would make the link wrong.
Different. Yeah.
Man.
I just sent a comment testing. Do you see the comment?
No.
So in the chat in the Facebook thing.
Oh, there it just came in now. Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. Yeah. Oh, all right, there you go. You can end the broadcast now. Now you know how it works. I don't know if you want to try to solve. Unless you could try to. How did the Facebook one get deleted? It says on here it does Facebook and.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what happened.
We can.
Remember, I was trying to find like the link. So I'm gonna end. Well, if I end the broadcast, does that like end the whole thing?
I don't know.
And like we can't start it again. That's what I'm afraid of. So
is there a way to pause it? Well, you're gonna clip all this jibber jabber out.
Yeah, I mean that's totally fine. So
it's funny because I'm watching Q on one screen, like the live studio version, and I see like the delay of him puffing his mouth up on the other screen. Yeah, your camera is better, Q. Just so you know.
No, but it usually Zoom. It's always perfectly focused. I don't know why with StreamYard. I need to reinstall my drivers. It's silly.
Bell, since the Facebook thing disappeared and it's not going to go live on Facebook, should we post something to point them to the YouTube channel?
I don't hear Belle right now, but
hello.
I don't know.
Hello.
She's on YouTube. Yeah.
Is she on YouTube?
Oh yeah, I see her on YouTube. By the way, just so you know, I see her on the YouTube chat area. It's only me and Belle in there right now. So.
Yeah. I'm gonna remove this testing one. Oh, can I not? Oh, that's right. You can't delete because it's part of Facebook. I mean,
I could remove it. Watch. I just removed it. I removed mine.
You can remove yours, but you can't remove others. So does it have? Oh, it's delayed. So that's funny.
It is still, yeah. It's slightly. We're slightly delayed.
Going so
I hear
slow
Belle.
right now.
Uh-oh, Belle's computers can blow up.
Oh.
I don't even know. It's like there's barely anything open.
So wait, Dave, when you put this back on YouTube, do you get to clip it before? You know what I'm saying? Like this live stream's not going to start like now while we're discussing, right? Well, if it is,
it's live. It's live, so it's like going.
I know. Well, it is live now, is what I'm saying. But like when it gets re-put onto the channel. Do you get a chance?
You can do whatever. Yeah, you can edit and do it. You don't have to keep all.
You don't have to like put this raw. This raw doesn't go out there like that. Okay.
Yeah, I think it sends the video when we're done. So.
Okay.
How do I watch it on Facebook?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Like some connection got broken to the Facebook, so like it's not going to go live on Facebook. So I don't know if you want to take the YouTube link and post it on Facebook really quick that we're starting. I mean, that's a Band-Aid, but I mean, I don't, because it's broken here for some reason. I don't know why.
I will do that.
It was deleted on Facebook. I don't know why. So something happened. I don't.
Come on, computer, you can do it.
You can do it.
Let me know when you guys officially start.
So, well, we've just started. We'll start at 9:30, but I mean, that's when people probably start jumping in because the email is going to come out, and then it's the first one. So whatever, whoever shows.
Oh,
shows.
That's right. We just kind of talk, chit chat, and then once we get people, you're just like, hey, everybody.
Yep.
This is my first time doing a group stream.
Yeah, this is our first group live stream. I mean, we've done a webinar, which I guess is pretty similar, but this is like just a different format, really.
True.
We're just treating it as like.
Would you guys do Would you guys do clubhouses?
I think it'd be cool if it's where we were talking about it, but you know,
I've noticed a lot of people just like those are really nice, like pop up, kind of shoot the shit.
Oh my god, my computer is so slow.
Because was there a cool. And then let's see. Yeah, and then so after my intro, Raj, I'll switch the camera to you, and you could talk. And then after your intro, I'll switch it to Q, and you could ask him a couple of questions, and then I'll switch it over to the to his screen.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, is my stream live right now or not? I'm sorry, my screen.
No, your screen is not right now. It's just our website.
So I see the pitch
Oh,
at the
BA.
end.
Oh, we got people on here.
Yeah, I have some,
Cool.
I have some
Awesome.
friends that are probably going to hop in and be very encouraging.
Are they they're gonna heckle you?
They might.
That's good. It's a good thing. Awesome.
Where do you see the people? Right now I only see...
Up at the top where there's the eyeball icon. Or you could see it probably in YouTube as well. So we'll get started in like a minute. Q, ready? You ready for this?
Ready. There are 4. We're ready for the. Let's do it. Hello.
Jonathan says, "Sup? What's up, John? Are you a friend?" Oh no, it's that Alex guy. Of course.
Yeah, Jonathan and I took some classes together. I always have a hard time with people that come from that have different Instagram handles because I'm like, wait, yes, names. No, Jonathan's got some dope paintings.
Cool. Jonathan. Oh, Juna is here too. Awesome. Love Juna. So what do you think? You want to get this party started?
Okay, go on.
All right,
Yeah,
let's do this.
Started.
Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us on our live stream here. Today we have Quintin Puebla with us, but we are Chimirus. If you're not familiar with us, we do professional coaching and training for the 2D entertainment art industry. So video games, concept art for film, animation, and all that stuff. My name is Dave Prosciutto. I am the founder of Chimirus, and welcome.
Hey everybody, I am Roger Yoon. I'm the other part of Chimirus, the managing director and operations guy. Also dabble in art and whatnot, along with everybody else. But I'm here to introduce you to Quintin Puebla. He's a visual development artist for Nickelodeon, Warner Brothers, and previously Disney. Yes, he is very charming. He's got very ferocious eyebrow movement. That being said, a quick little story about Quintin, I think that you guys should know is Quintin and I met when he was attending Columbia College, but he also interned for me when I was working over at Scientific Games. And he showed so much perseverance, dedication to his craft that I think during the time he was there, and it was only a 3-month period, the CEO of my company came over to me and said, "Hey, what can we do to get Quentin to stay?" Quentin, I think, maybe had only 2 meetings with our CEO in a group format, and he loved him so much. He asked me to do whatever I can do to get Quentin to stay. But I knew Quentin was destined to go out west, explore, grow his skill set and whatnot. And it's awesome that he did, because he landed at so many other places. And, due to his work ethic, talent, and skill set, has gotten so far with where he's been in the time that he's been doing it. So there you go, Quentin.
Thanks.
So
just in case folks don't know, real quick, Chimirus is based out of Chicago. So I know there's probably some West Coast people in here that just might not be aware, because I originated from the corn. I did not
from the corn.
The corn.
Yeah. That being said, Q, what are you going to do for us today?
All right. So today I want to go over something that I think is kind of important when it comes to whether you're a concept artist or a visual development artist, is learning how to combine reference and what to pick in your reference to combine, and the choices to make there. So I'm a huge sci-fi guy, and one of my favorite illustrators, I think he's from like the 80s, 70s, is John Harris. And so I picked one of his pieces here to kind of like as a jumping off point for color. And then I've looked up some other reference, and I'm going to show you guys this. And in this sketch, I kind of got excited. So I want to start playing with lighting situations. And I want to show you guys how to kind of take, a variety of ideas or things that you find interesting and combine them in something kind of new and fresh. Right. So I feel like most of our jobs, a lot of us, we have to come up with a new thing instead of just trying to come up with it all off the dome. We're just going to start with some reference. So
how important, I guess, would you say as a up and coming artist, or as an artist that's in the middle of trying to getting stuff done, like how often do you use reference, and how important is it in your daily process, would you say?
Oh, it's super important. I would say I use it for new projects. It's like that's most of the beginning is just reference digging and collecting images. For this demo, just to keep it kind of simple, I picked I kept it to a limited amount of images, but I usually make like huge collages of like 20, 30 things, depending on whatever I'm designing. So for this one, I kept it like subject matter. I found this it's a southern of South America, but it's this kind of like it looked like a John Harris type of build out of like if you look at the architecture here, it's like very kind of alien, which I was like, this is dope. This is kind of with where I wanted to go. And I think this is Tau, the greenery and all that cool stuff. And then this is the time of day. I think dusk is really interesting because there's such a variety of, I would say probably once the sun starts to set, every like 20, 30 minutes, a whole new lighting situation happens. So I found this one. And what I want to do is kind of marry this lighting situation to the current subject matter and inspiration that I found with this John Harris painting.
Cool. I think you touched on something that's like super important. I think for a lot of art, lighting and specifically like realistic lighting, or like knowing how to handle lighting in a piece will really get you far, and it will really help the user kind of connect the dots.
Totally. And for this one, to keep it simple, in the class, it might also be because it's fresh in my head, putting together some of these lesson plans for our intro to visual development class is value groupings. And so for me, this one, I want to keep it simple. Right now it's just 3 values. I can kind of show you guys, before I committed to this lighting setup, I explored a few other ways to get some interesting, like long kershaw of lighting shapes kind of coming in.
Is kershaw a technical term? Or?
Yeah, it is. It was, okay. I think started in 2003. It's been but yeah, this one was cool, but I felt like I wanted the focal point to be this top part where you see this kind of like alien vegetation thing. because it's going to be a lot of this reddish pinkish rock. So I want to have fun with that. I'm also going to show you some tricks to throw in some color modulation to make things a little bit more interesting.
Cool. That sounds super exciting. I
Awesome.
feel like everybody's ready for it to happen.
I can get going.
Yeah.
So to start, and I'll kind of walk through you guys and just talk and paint. So I have, like, in the beginning, I pick usually like a very usually just a simple kind of blocky brush. This one is a combination of a couple different brushes I really like. I'm a big fan of the square brush, and I also like brushes that like have a little bit of tooth and texture. So this is a combination of a couple of things that I have. And so for this to start, I think I want it to be, because remember with this stuff, obviously you can eye picker all kinds of things, but for this, I want to show you guys how I'm going to solve the color the hard way, which is going to be is going to be locating it on the sliders here. So for this lit side, the one thing we're going to have to keep in mind is that when you do these 3 value comps, is that this isn't necessarily keyed, right? So a lighting key is like in this dusk image. If I go into black and white, you can see that like the brightest value in here is like, let's see that it's like right around the 50, and like even here maybe it gets really bright, and that's this artificial light, right? You see kind of in the edges. So with this, it's going to look a little gross at first, but I promise I'm gonna figure out how to pull it together. But that's the thing to keep in mind is that the lighting on this structure is not going to be a actual white light. It's just I'm just telling myself I'm setting up a foundation of that's where my brightest brights are going to be, where the midtones are, where I have the midtones are going to be separated, where they're not going to be as dark as my darkest darks, but they're not going to be as bright as my brightest brights. And I know it's going to be confusing, but hopefully I can show you guys that and kind of keep it simple. So with this, I love in this John Harris piece, the blues are like so cool. Like that's like the blues against that pink is like really what sells for me. So right now this is kind of loud, and I don't mind in the beginning starting a painting where it's like the colors they don't necessarily harmonize. So for this, I just want to get like a feeling, right? So because this is my shadow, I'm going to constantly be doing this a lot. You guys will see it. So what I'm doing right here is I have a hotkey set up, and in my class, you can learn more about this. It's I will be switching on and off for values just to make sure that I'm not breaking that 3 value setup that I set up in the beginning. So now I'm kind of seeing that's too light. So I'm just going to come in and keep pulling it down. I'm noticing it now. What's great about painting, right, is that what a lot of students get nervous about is it's like starting, right? It's that intimidating feeling of like, oh, I have to come up with an idea, right? So with this, it's like now that I'm seeing this blue against the light part, I'm noticing that this is very like dull. It's not very exciting. So I really want to warm it up a bit. And you're going to kind of see how that's already making it sing a little bit more. And what I kind of like about dusk too, and you can see this in the photo, it's like that the way that it gradients from like these purples to these violets is like so tricky. But I like to try to figure it out. So that's the fun part of painting, is being frustrated and making mistakes all the time. So like I kind of want this to feel like it's gradiating. It's a bit of a gradient. Yeah, almost like that. So what I'm doing now is I figured out the palette of this thing, right? Like it's this warm reddish, clay adobe like a structure. So what I'm doing now is it's when I start painting light, I like to think of things also as gradients. So I don't want to make this whole thing this like solid bright. To me, that it flattens it, right? And so in the beginning, because I don't really care about like edges, I'm just going to kind of be flicking and painting this in so that it keeps your eye. What I want to do is take your eye from, if I draw it out, I kind of want to go from like here to here. And if I can to here. I like triangles, and this is a whole weird thing that like the old masters talk about. But I used to always think of the focal point, right? Is like whatever the focal point is, I have to make everything work around that. And I don't really agree with that anymore, whether it's right or wrong. I don't really care. But what I do try to do is I try to like create this like path for your eye to move. So throughout this painting, hopefully you'll kind of get to see me deal with those challenges.
Yeah, so I think one of the other things, Q, we just wanted to clarify, this is a portion or part of your class that you will be teaching on April 11th, correct? I think I've got that date right. On April 11th for visual development through our Chimirus platform, correct?
That is true. Yeah, this is what I'm going to teach is actually you're not going to learn something about like this until later in the class, because this is me juggling. I'm juggling value. I'm juggling design. I didn't even really, I'll talk about, because there's parts of this drawing that I don't really care for. And once I turn that off, you'll kind of see how I deal with design while painting. But in my opinion, that's kind of a far advanced thing. I just want to show you how all this kind of comes together towards the end of the class. In the beginning, we're going to walk you through, break you down into the composition basics, value grouping, all the stuff you hear me kind of talking about. So now I'm not really so another thing, a bad habit I get is that I will paint around the focal point for too long and I'll get kind of stuck up on it. And what I need to remember is that I got to paint that sky. For me, it's like, so I do a lot of plein air and traditional painting. And something that I always forget, or at least when I paint traditionally, I never forget. But digitally, I always forget to just paint in that sky, because that sky is going to really dictate so much of how everything in this image is going to react to the sky, other than what's being lit. All the light coming and filling in the spots that aren't hit by light or hit by the skybox. That's going to be our fill light. So I'm going to copy that.
As Quentin kind of dives into that, just so you guys know in the audience, feel free to pepper in any kind of questions. We'll take a moment to kind of answer them. And anything that Quentin's talking about, feel free to kind of enter some of something into the comments, and we'll make sure it gets addressed.
Yeah, I was very sloppy. So I used to be super uptight when I first started painting. I would be very like clean, and I'd have to have everything divided in specific areas. And I would get upset if my layers weren't right. And now I've kind of gotten over that to a degree. I still like to have a certain level of control. But you'll see me do some very sloppy things with this. And honestly, that's fun, because I think for something fast and like getting it there, I think you can get so much of a painting done in a short amount of just kind of speed, and not really deal with, you don't have to worry about like it's digital. So there's not really an issue with, you don't need to make it more difficult for yourself, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Do you feel because you've let yourself, I guess you could say, let loose a little bit, there's more energy in your artwork than there was when you're feeling
Totally.
that you were a little more restricted?
Yeah, I hated when I first started, my stuff was so stiff. And that was one of the cool things about moving out here, is that I started meeting a lot of artists that just kind of taught how to like loosen up, especially for like animation. It just doesn't need to be super tight unless that's the style. But like normally I would get very stressed out about being like, I have to have my lights and shadows on 2 different layers, but I don't really care about that as much until it's like really annoying. And then I'm like, man, I should have separated those things. It's basically like my level of like, how much do I want to deal with this?
I think also a good rule of thumb is because you're doing visual development and rapid visualization, having things like collapse on a layer is never not that bad of a situation. I think it's more like if you're working in production and you have to hand your thing off to another artist to kind of like do production pieces or export, then that would be an issue. But I think in your particular situation, and specifically rapid visualization, kind of doing it quick and kind of keeping the energy loose and not having to worry too much about layer management is sometimes a benefit, actually.
I agree. So looking at these mountains, I'm like not crazy about it. Oh, I realized I lost my sky. All right, there we go. Sky's back. We're in. I'm gonna while I'm in the blockout phase, I'm gonna constantly be looking back at that sketch, and I can tell in the sketch right now, my mountains are too samey. So another thing is it's funny. I used to be super digital with how I painted, and then when I started traditionally painting, I was like, no, I'm gonna do everything with no blending modes, no like adjustment layers, just everything on one layer. And I was like, man, I don't really need to worry about that. I don't need to like make my life that difficult. So now I kind of just do whatever I have to do. But
do you have Q? Do you have any recommendations or exercises you go through, or you had to go through to loosen up your art style or loosen up your particular approach?
Sure, I think like I'm always gonna like, even if you can't traditionally paint, or even if you can't, like if you don't have a mobile digital setup, if you just go outside and just like look at the outside world, like if you just study, even just taking notes. I used to do this a lot, where you just like have a notebook and you're just like, okay, what's going on at this time of day? Specifically, if you're trying to be like an environment artist, I think that's really helpful, because it's going to get you what you see, at least most of us, I can assume we're all digital people, is that a lot of our brain is used to seeing photos, and that's not bad, but it's not good if you don't understand what's correct or incorrect about what you're seeing in photos. So when you go outside, that kind of forces you to see real stuff for what it is. And then once you see photos, you're like, oh, I get why the photo is the way that it is.
I do remember when you were on your Instagram, and definitely if you guys follow Quentin on his Instagram, there was a section or a point in time where you were doing a lot of outside painting. Like you literally dragged your little easel out there, you traditional stuff, you set up and you paint literally what was in front of you. And it was loose, but it communicated beautifully what you were looking at.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. That wasn't something I developed until I came out west, because I didn't realize that's a thing that kind of started, at least in the animation side, that started with Pixar. And if anyone has the time, if you look up Bill Cohn, he's the like lighting guru. He's the guy that does like all these pastel paintings. And if you look at all the amazing artists of like Dice and Robert Kondo and all the people that do like their color scripts there, or that used to, it all comes from Bill. And he would go out with artists on the team, and before work, they would do plein air. And then that kind of took on more. And now it's like we before pandemic, we would have morning sessions with all of us painters. Even Jonathan, I think, is here in the chat. We would just all meet up, and it'd be a mix of students, professionals. It was really fun. It's social, and you get to kind of brush up on your skills. Here, let's see. So I'm thinking not too crazy about the big, massive green. I know that I want it to be those bushes, but at the same time, I also want to show some of that ground, but it's got to be kind of cool. I don't want it to be too boring.
Hey, Q.
Yes.
So when you're choosing your colors, like what are you thinking about, like when you're making these decisions?
So it's right now, like I said, this is a me thinking about everything at once, and I just check values based on a sketch I did, because I was like, okay, I want this to work. So the colors now, I'm just eyeballing the reference, and because I've had experience painting at certain times of day, I understand that, like, if I color pick these guys, right? And this is why I understand the urge to color pick, but it is really good to be able to eyeball stuff, because you're going to be able to do what I'm just about to explain. So here you have these bushes, right? So if I were to take these bushes, which they're lit right now, but let's say like that color is like the local color. If I paint that in there, that's what it looks like. That's the color of the dirt. You see what I'm saying? So like that's the color that I want to have of the dirt because this is in dusk, right? This is obviously a very dark range. I don't want my greens to go black. One, it breaks my value structure, right? I established in here that this mid-value range is basically it's like the sandwich between the mountains and my focal point. So what I'm deciding is, well, I'm going to push them into this cool range because they're not being hit by sunlight. They're being affected by this sky color. So if the sky color is hitting into this warmer green, it's going to make a cooler green. So I'm going to cool it down. So a big thing that I don't think a lot of people when they first start painting don't think about is that everything is temperature and everything is relative to whatever the lighting is. So if you have a certain time of day and your sky dome is a certain color, that means that color is going to interact with whatever it is that you're painting, whether it's a fire hydrant, a brick building, a concrete sidewalk. They're all being influenced by the direct light of the sun and the indirect light of your skybox. I guess we'll call it for any games people in here. So I noticed this kind of came up over here. I want to fix that real quick. I don't really care for that. So I want to pull this in. I also want to, I really love, I didn't have this in the sketch originally, but I love in the reference these like purple clouds that are against the warm sky, but I want to reverse that. So we'll see if it works, but like I want to take like that color, which I don't like that exact color. Taking like that color with, I don't know, let's see. Would be a little thinking about like once again I want my focal point to
Hey
be,
Q, an interesting question asked by Alex. At what point do you feel like you're ready to stray away from your reference, or do you always have your reference by your side?
oh, that's all in one layer. I just was talking about that. That's so funny. When did it stray right away from reference? I would say way beyond this point. At this point, I'm still looking to reference because it's so early, and I haven't developed all of the relationships that I want to set up. So I'm still going to look pretty heavily to the right, but I'm also starting to think kind of on my own. It depends on experience. Some people are really quick to get off of it, and because they're good, they got started. For this, for this one, I'm pretty confident where I know where I'm going to go. But there's things like I said with the clouds where it's like these clouds look the way they look because they're against a warm, hot sky. I like that feeling, but I want to put it against this cool sky. So how do I kind of solve that? And that takes me looking at the reference, but also choosing to deviate from it.
So I'm going to throw a question up there from Juna about any nice places to find photo reference. And Q, continue to work on the piece that you're working on. But I'm going to ping Dave over here. Dave, where are your favorite places to pull photo reference or grab reference typically when you work on stuff?
So a couple of my go-to places, definitely, well, like Unsplash is a really good one for free. There's a lot of good like photographic stuff on that. There's also like, if you're looking for more like professional type things, there's like mattpaint.com, which gives you lots of like pretty amazing high resolution environment photos geared towards matte painting. It is a service, but they do give you like a bunch of stuff for free. So that's another place that I do as well. Then there's like textures.com. Like there's a lot of stuff there too, like for, you know, textures as well as 3D stuff, but also things for like just regular photo reference. And even like Flickr has a ton of stuff. You know, like Google search only takes you so far, but like when you're starting to look for quality things, you need to get down to the nitty gritty and start looking for specific things. And probably Quentin, you have some places that you go to as well.
Yeah, I think you said Flickr. I don't know if actually learned this from taking a class out here at Brainstorm. Was Flick River is like Flickr, but it's a feed, and you can search. So it pulls from Flickr, and you can just say like desert dunes or something. And for some reason, the algorithm on Flick River is a little more logical about what you search than Flickr natively. So sometimes I've used that. If I'm looking at if you want to look at like intentional lighting, so let's say like cinematography, I highly recommend everyone in this chat, if you don't already, get Shot Deck. It is the bee's knees, the best reference. Like you can literally specify time of day. You can specify composition. You can specify like how many light source. I mean, it's got all these parameters. It's everything you've ever wanted with all the other databases for cinematography that just haven't been made yet.
I think just because you called it the bee's knees, everybody's got to check it out now.
Nice.
That old school term with this new school fangled technology, we got to check it out now.
Highly recommend it.
Bee's knees coming back. Same with like Cool Beans.
Cool Beans never left my.
They never left.
Yeah, I think I'm getting a little. I'm not feeling the sky yet, but you know what? That's fine. I'm gonna keep moving. The other thing with working early on in a piece like this is like, it's really easy to get kind of caught up in spots, and so I always try to like train myself to just keep moving, because I want to get as much as I can. So as you guys can tell, I have two very distinct colors for that midground plane, right? But pay attention when I take that into grayscale, I'm keeping it in that value structure. Now I'm going to keep subdividing. So in here now, it's like, this is kind of boring to me and it's very flat. So I'm going to come in with like a darker green to kind of represent that underside. But I'm pulling from the reference, right? I'm looking here and I'm saying, okay, light hit from the top, it's going to be brighter. Underneath, it's going to have these dark little pockets, right? So I'll come into here and I'll show you guys some tricks for like easy and quick ways to show vegetation. And then obviously we get back into the distance. You're just going to have whole shapes of stuff. You're not going to have like, it's not going to be these like little shapes. I want this ground plane stuff. I kind of want that more naturally spread. I'm not too crazy about it being so intentional. I would say one of the hardest things about painting backgrounds and anything from reference is like just not copying it and like making something that isn't really, but it's just not, you're not adding anything. So I'm always trying to come in and take my own twist with it. That's why I really like it. Like there's no shame at all. Like when you look at other artists, because especially with, like I said, the John Harris thing is what kind of inspired me. But clearly, if you look at it, it's like it's a whole different thing. And that's where I pull in my real world reference for design, right? So I looked at this, I think it's called La Maraja Roja, which is this guy. And then the Taos and this bottom dusk image for lighting. So it is like a recipe, right? So when you're making new things, I feel like the more you understand what you need in your recipe, I feel like the better and more original the thing you'll have. And I think a big fear we all have as artists is like, people are like, oh, did you copy from this person? Oh, this looks like a derivative of X or Y or Z. And this is a good way to be like, fuck you guys, I put this together myself. Like it's unique, and I may have been inspired, but I stand on my own 2 feet. So another thing I want to add into this is that focal point. So we talked about that focal point, but you guys are probably like, what is he talking about? There's nothing, I don't see no focus. So I like the idea of this is dusk, but you got this like green, it's like green cactus, right? And so because I'm going to do that, I'm going to need to change. So this is a good example actually to show like temperature, right? So what a lot of people used to do, and what I used to do, and what I see students or newer people do a lot is like, you think a green cactus. So you think it's, if the cactus is this green, right? I'll pull out my cooler's color wheel. If the cactus is this green, what most people think is they're like, okay, this is a lighter green, right? That's the light side, and this is like the darker side, right? So this is what most people would do this, right? But in my opinion, that looks kind of flat. And it's like not really, it's not, when you put the same green next to the same green temperature wise, for this specific example, it's not as interesting. So because this is a cooler sky, I'm going to come down to here. And I'm going to pick something like this. And in my opinion, if I can even come up to here and just do like a Control Z, I feel like this sits better. You can see it without the scaling. It's just different. Like this to me makes sense because it's interacting with the color of the sky, the mountains, everything that's like being hit by this cool green. To me, it would make sense to have it in the focal point. So let's turn that sketch back on because this is still pretty gnarly. So I'm just going to keep pushing through. Out for And another thing is that for these shadows, so the next step would be, okay, we have the black and white, right? And I kind of talked about in the beginning with this gradient of light. So now, obviously, if I turn off that light, or the line work, sorry, everything kind of gets flattened out, right? And it's like you don't really see, you see a light and shadow, but it's pretty blobby and you don't see depth yet. So something that, once again, I'm always thinking about my light sources, that skylight is going to be hitting these planes that are, I guess what would it be? Vertical, horizontal, perpendicular. One of the directional terms. It's going to be 45 degrees to the west. No, it's going to be
I think there we go. We got it back.
it's going to be slightly lighter. But keep in mind, it's on this red surface, right? So I'd probably go here, desaturate it a bit. And it might be too loud, but not too loud, I'm sorry, too bright, but that's fine. I'm saying that this color is what the shadow facing the sky, what that's going to be. And you can already start to see that these darker bits are going to stand out as points of they're going to be kind of the most void of light, right? And so now we're getting into the part of painting where you're subdividing your values. And I did the hard work of establishing this sketch, right? So I've already said where my darks are and where my lights are at. So now it's just like the challenge of color, light logic, there's some design elements I'm not too crazy about. Let's see what else.
So Q, I know we probably won't get to it in this demo, but so I see you're working with a line layer and then you're working with a color layer. Like how far in your process, typically, if you're doing a piece like this, do you find yourself starting to remove the line layer and kind of building without it? Like I think there are a lot of people that are probably like, start in the line layer, start painting in color, but they might be a little hesitant in terms of when the right time is to remove the lines or how to kind of reduce the lines.
Sure. So I would say once, I don't know, it should be kind of at the point, there's going to be a scary moment. Because I know when I
that is a scary moment. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are at that point. They're like, "What is the scary moment?" So
the scary moment, I think, is it's impossible. I think it really is impossible to be comfortable while painting. I think you can get like a formula down if you want, but I find that if I'm a little nervous, I tend to have a better result because I'm not overthinking. And so I guess my point with that being is that the sooner you pull that Band-Aid off, the better. But I think technically, I would just start thinking about turning your line work off. Some people even integrate their line work into their painting. So like some people will get to the point that I'm at, and they'll just start painting on top of it, and then the line work becomes like an underpainting. which is totally an option. That's why I say explore it. Turn off your line work really fast or soon, or keep it till as late as you can, and you might find that there's certain things that you like and don't like. I don't think there's ever a one way to do it. I know it's really tempting when you're first getting started. You're like, I want painting to be from A to B, and I want to have the end product. But for me, the fun is like starting it and getting it going, because the finish is like, you're may see me making big changes and moves right now. But when it comes to the point where I need to finish this, it's going to be like 10 hours of not 10 hours, but it'll be like 3-4 hours of 5% changes, where the beginning was like an hour of like 90% laying it out. Right.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So something that's cool about this guy that I think I'm going to try a couple different things, and you guys can make fun of me if it looks bad. Everybody can laugh. It's all good. So
Alex is already laughing.
A thing that
he's not afraid.
Go for it. A thing I really love with John Harris and a lot of these sci-fi guys, if you can tell, and this is why it's so cool. This is why it's good to look at like old artists and masters, and like this is where studying this stuff comes in handy. Not to one-to-one replicate them, but like why is it that you like this? And the thing that I love about this is, one, strong composition, super simple shapes, this huge massive structure, right? But he just puts in like little flicks of detail, and it says such a message without him having to get in there and do all the greebling. Right. But the thing I love that he does with his big mega structures are these like striations. It's almost like the sci-fi way of showing like this thing's made of all these different materials, and however you want to make it logical, whatever. But like color wise and artistically, it looks dope because it's like color modulation, but with intent. So in the sketch, I kind of set that up a bit. And what I'm going to do, let's see if it works. Okay. Yeah, we're going to try this. So normally I would probably do this a bit differently, but just to keep things fast, I'm currently working on an overlay layer. And what I like about overlay, you can see, is that I can have it interact with, 1 second, I just had something crazy pop up. I can have it interact with my shadow and light side without it breaking my value structures, which you can kind of see. If I hop into here again. Yeah, you can kind of see it darkens within the shadow side, and you can do this a whole different way. You could use multiply layers, whatever. But for this one, since I've started with this, I'm going to do it this way and see where it takes me. I want to come up with interesting, and this is all part of design. These are things that, like, the little things I think are the most fun. I don't really care as much about, the perspective of this is cool, but like, I really want to come up with like ideas that are interesting.
Would you, when you're doing a piece like this and you're kind of working through it, I know you just mentioned the overlay layer blend mode. How many blend modes do you find yourself going through? Is there 3 that you use when you typically work on pieces like this? Do you try to paint straight up, like paint natural without using blend modes as often as possible? What is the technique or the philosophy for you?
I used to love blend modes. I think I mentioned this. I hated blend modes because I'm like, they're unpredictable, or they're slightly predictable. But then I learned that they're actually fairly simple, and it depends on the piece. For me, I like overlay for doing like subtle shifts. I don't like to paint with overlay as like a big thing. I know I started the shadow side opaque, but normally I could technically paint the whole thing in this like warm color, the local color, and then I would apply a multiply, and that would get fairly close to what that local color of that red pinkish object in shadow would look like. It just depends. With this one, I want to start opaque because I kind of know what colors I want to lean into. But I would say if you want to like figure things out, I think doing local colors first, and then I'll do a demo within the demo. This will take a second.
A demo within a demo. Oh man, what a treat. 2x.
A demo within a demo. So let's say I'm explaining this to like, I don't know why I criticize about talking too much, but yet I gotta just show it. Okay. So we have this thing, right? Like this simulates material color that we currently have, and we can kind of come in here and make it a little more red. So I could come in and paint like just hard, right? Because I know that's like that's what I know from understanding the lighting and how it works. Like that's fairly close to what I want. Or if I don't know, let's say one of you guys puts together all this reference and you wanna figure out this without being like destructive, without committing to that painting opaque like that, you can do something like a multiply layer, right? And that's the same color, but it's darker. And I know Dave and Roger are super on it with like the technical way that Photoshop works. I just know that how multiply works in unga bunga terms is like it's I almost think of it like a gel that darkens whatever is under whatever it's on top of. And when you get closer to white, that reduces that makes multiply like go away. So like if I paint in white, multiply goes away. But if I paint in the darker I get, the closer to black it goes. Dave, you're more than welcome to smarten that up.
Well, it's just math. So all the blend modes are math. So it's like it's multiply. So like your numbers, your RGB values get multiplied, and so like they get darker. So like if you paint with black, black is 0, 0, 0. So like anything times 0 is 0 and will always return black. So that's just kind of how it works. So like as those numbers increase, then like it's always going to darken because it's a darkening blend mode. But it's just something to keep in mind. If the opposite of that is screen, so it's like when you screen, it's always going to keep the brighter value.
Yeah, so screen I use a lot, and you'll probably see me in this demo if I have time. You use it for atmosphere a lot. Artists that use screen or lighten. Lighten will what does it technically do? It technically it will lighten a darker value up. I don't know how to say it. I just know it from visually what it does. But like if I apply it to this mountain, it'll lighten up those dark parts, but it won't interact with the light parts of the mountain. As whatever, it just depends on where I set that value. And I can show that. I hate explaining Photoshop tech. But for this ball demo real quick, so I did the multiply, right? With this, it's non-destructive. So I can come into here and let's say I take this color of this like weird sci-fi thing. And now if you see when I paint on it, you see how the multiply interacts with that underside. I'm getting the same effect essentially with me painting in both opaque and using overlay. There's probably like a certain percentage of discrepancy, but these are just like a multiple. These are just like solutions. That's kind of what I do like about blending modes is you can use them in a variety of combinations. It does not have to be like one stop shop for how you do it. So I'll turn that off and get back to the painting.
So Q, just so you know, you're approaching. We got about 15 minutes. So.
Oh man, I did not get near this far. Well, okay, you know what? This is like a cooking channel, guys. So I showed you. I came prepared. So here, I will show you after spending like an hour and a half of what it would look like. And we can even paint this up somewhere.
There we go. Like you just pulled it right out of the oven.
Yeah, this pulled it right out the oven. It's the fully made quiche. So, how much time do I got left? Where are we at?
Yeah, about like 10 minutes. We want to leave 5 minutes at the end for some stuff.
So in here you can kind of see, and you know what? Let's compare it to the poopy thing I started. So the first one has a lot of glow to it, and you can almost, at least on my screen, it's the shadow sides are very saturated. In here, I kind of tone it down, and that's usually how I work. Is I'll start kind of saturated, and then I'll start to dial things in. With this guy, I guess I can just kind of pick up from where I left off, and just keep painting this up. Still fairly messy, but this image right here was probably like an hour and a half, maybe 45 minutes of starting. Obviously, not talking. I don't care what anyone says. Talking while painting makes you like twice as slow. So at this point, I just come in and I would probably just start painting opaquely on things. Change the design of this actually. You can kind of see where starting to now push things. But I think it's also more apparent here if I go into the value check, you can see how I'm hitting that gradient.
Yeah.
Light to dark. And obviously there's lots of loose stuff in here that I really want resolved. Like this is like some alien planter thing that isn't quite done. Shadows from this object coming in here. All that. And then I would also probably come into here and just design this guy out a bit more. Like I like the idea that I have going on. Let me pick a different brush. So I use the same like 3 or 4 brushes. Oh, you know what? This would be good to show some pencil tool action. So let me show you guys some pencil tool stuff that helps with kind of throwing down detail. So we have this background, right? So we got this midground layer, right? It's these Taos bushes that I just love so much. And I want to indicate like a little bit more light on the top of those, right? Like these, I want this not to be as flat. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use second best digital invention ever, which is the Lasso Tool. I think the first one is I don't know what the first one is. Somebody can can elaborate on that. But I love the Lasso Tool. This is a really fast way to make kind of stylized selections.
I think the first one is probably the undo, the Control Z, Command Z.
All right, I'll give it to you. Undo.
Yeah, you gotta give me that one at least.
That's true. So once again, it's gonna have to be cool because it's skylight, but I don't want it to be too bright that it competes with my brightest values. All right, so we're always thinking about that. When I use selection stuff, I usually hide. So this is Control Hide. I still have my selections, but the marching ants aren't as annoying because I just don't like seeing them. So I'll come in with like a pencil. So right now I have this brush that normally would be very, be like jittery and textury. I recommend you guys, if you have your brush packs, like play with the pencil tool on it. I learned this from some Spider-Verse guys. This is how they come up with those really like anti-aliasing, like kind of crunchy texture work that you can do digitally that you can't really do traditionally. So it's kind of, you're leaning into Photoshop in a sense. And what I'll do is I just come in here and I'll just kind of flick that stuff in. And now all of a sudden it's like, I'm adding these like little bits detail without me having to paint each individual little point. Because I guarantee you when you see people's paintings and they have this little noise and jitters and stuff, they're not hand painting that. Even like if you look at leaves on trees, I mean, we've all seen like the grass brush and all that stuff. There's a ton of ways you can be super creative with it. And then I could come back in. So I usually like to, once I do that technique, I like to come back in with like a soft edge brush, kind of like cut back into it a little bit. And that way it doesn't have those harsh edges.
Gives it a little bit more of a natural.
Yeah, it just, the form kind of rolls
blend.
off.
Yeah,
without me having to go too crazy. And then I'll probably come in with, I like this guy a lot. Oh, and don't forget that you have, when you mask like this, don't forget that when you have it hidden, it's still on. So I think mine is, let's see if I still have it on here. Yeah, I think it is. Okay. Yeah, there we go. It's not off. And kind of like sniping in some of these little details. I want these to kind of break up against those dark shapes because I'm not too crazy about the dark stuff right now. And probably take, because the other part of painting is like, you know, I started, as you guys saw, with like a simple big brush, and then I just want to come in and I kind of want to break up those forms so that it's not as it's not as like just obviously solid. You know, you have a little, you want to, for me, I'm always trying to tread that line of like breaking things up, simplifying, but not going so simple that it's like, oh wow, it's kind of lame. I want to make sure it's a little entertaining to see. Let's see here. I think
Just to give you a heads up, Q, we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to go to questions or anything, or if there's anything else we want to talk about.
Could you zoom in a little bit more so we could enlarge the screen?
So I don't. So this is a big no-no for me. I do not zoom in when I paint. When I paint like this. I paint like way up because that's what because that for me, if as soon as I zoom in, and you guys are going to see this, there's a lot of stuff that is not cool that's going on, but I don't want to get stressed out about that. So for instance, with this painting, I would need another like hour or two to come in and really refine things,
to clean up the edges and all that kind of
Just that I just like even here, if I look at this guy, I don't like the perspective of this structure. So what I'll do is I'll do a super copy pasta, which super copy pasta is Control Shift Copy. Is that right, Dave? Am I saying that right? And that will let you. I don't know why it's on that layer. That'll let you basically like isolate.
You mean it's copy merge, copy paste, whatever.
Yeah, master copy pasta. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I have
Quinn has his own terminology in Photoshop. If you guys have not noticed, very charming terminology, but still his own.
So yeah, I don't really like the perspective on that. So then I would probably come in and just like fix something like that.
So I think we have another question. How long do you think overall you would spend on a piece like this from start to finish? Like, typically,
probably for something like this that's like I really care about it. It's not a study. This to me, like this would be a personal piece that I want to be proud of. So I would probably put in a good 4 to 5 hours at least.
Okay.
The marketing image is a good example. The one that we have for the site. I can even pull that up if you want to see something that's like where I would want to be. I can pull that up real quick.
And then actually another thing to lead onto that, how do you know when it's done for you? Or is it ever done, Quentin?
Never. No, I don't know. I usually, so if I have the time, I love to take breaks. Like if I can give, honestly, the best situation I can have is where I get to like get sucked into a painting, work on it for an hour, a couple hours, and then not look at it for 24 hours. Now, I know professionally you don't always get that luxury, but if you're working on personal work, I really think having a night off of the painting sometimes is one of the best. That's like seriously one of the best things you can do.
I 1,000% agree with you. Whenever I sketch or whenever I draw, like let's say on my iPad, I do some Procreate work, I'll do something one night, but I won't look at it until at least 8 hours later. And then I find like a whole new view on the things I wanted to do, and you kind of refresh yourself on your approach.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, completely agree.
So this is a more example of like a very finished thing. So this was several nights of work, and I think you can tell there's a lot of stuff going on. So in comparison to this guy, like this is like I would call this like a color sketch. Like this is me just getting started. I've got the general idea. You could definitely show this to an art director, at least in animation, and they would know exactly. Like this is actually pretty far. If I were to do a color sketch, I would even show this thumbnail sketch, and a good AD would be able to know exactly what's going on. And then if I show them my reference, he'd be like, "Oh yeah, like finish it up and show me what it is." But this would be an example of something that's more refined that I went in and really gave the sauce to.
So if you zoomed in on this, it would not have the gnarliness.
I mean, it's still gnarly, but it's a lot of gnarliness. Where before it's kind of like some gnarliness. This is like, wow, look at all that little ridiculousness.
I mean, but it's still communicative. I would say, especially with your character, and then with the giant bird creature as well.
Yeah, and that's cool. The thing is, that's like normal. Like the best painters, it's like when you zoom in, like it's all just noise and patterns and like color. Like you're not like painting every ounce of every detail. Like you suggest detail through textured brushes and stuff like that. So it's not like you zoom in and you're going to see like the microbes of the bark, that they're painting. It's just noise. They're like noise patterns and stuff.
And with this, it's like a lot of it is, once again, I'm always checking values. That like even adding all this delicious, if you look at the bird, this is a great example. If you look at that green light, look at how it just disappears. So you see that, how it has the lit side, which is that bright yellow light, but that green glow is not breaking that value group. So in color, you can see, oh, the bird is getting lit by all the vegetation, the water, but in value, it's like, nuh-uh, it's not so bright that it's competing with that background. That's kind of that's always something. I think so much of, once you master, I feel like once you really figure out value, you'll definitely have a lot more creative liberty with color, because then you won't stress about, like, you won't be like, why is this color not working against this thing? Well, if it works in your value groups, 90% of the time, it's going to be fine.
That's a good point.
So where is this image from, that bird image?
This bird?
Yep.
Yeah, so when I put this together, I think, is the reference site, is it on the website? Might be. This was a shoebill and an Andes condor and a secretary bird. I looked at a bunch of different things.
Yeah. So this is a snippet from your upcoming class, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So I think what we want to kind of lead into as well too, if there's no more questions, there's just a bunch of praise in the comments for you. So so you could definitely read that. But that being said, if any of you guys that are watching enjoyed the exercise, this is one of many in Quentin's intro to VizDev class that's coming up on the 11th. If you're looking to get into concept art, honestly, visual development, or become just a better digital artist overall, this class session is definitely going to be for you. Even myself, being in the industry for 20 plus years, some of the stuff that Q puts out there is amazing, and I reference it for myself as well too. So
Aww.
Yes.
Yeah.
As artists, we are always learning. We're always creative. We're always learning. There's never a time to stop. So if you want to sign up within the next 24 hours of this stream, you can get 25% off this live class. We actually feel like the live class format is really, really beneficial for us and for our attendees, because it gives you that close interaction with the instructor. It gives you that live feedback, and it kind of keeps you honestly, as an artist or as somebody taking the class. There are only actually 4 spots left. So hurry if you're interested. Again, you get 25% off within signing up within 24 hours of the stream. The class is small, again, like I said before, is to ensure the experience is awesome. And to obtain the 25% off, there is a code that you'll be using that's going to be broadcasted on here with the click of my mouse. There we go. Chimirus Live 25 when you hit the website. If you plug that in there, you'll have a 25% knocked off the initial price, which is already kind of discounted to begin with. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else had any other questions, but
critiques. Do I got any feedback? Anybody want to? So you can say whatever.
Honestly, I think there is a people that really love the cactus. There's people that really love you. If you can't tell. And Alex, who is already signed up for the class, is really excited to kind of see this.
That dude's he's having a good time over there, whatever he's doing.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So.
But again, thanks again for everybody for joining us. It's always a pleasure for us to kind of host these live events and demos. We really want to be able to share some of this knowledge and education throughout the community, because we feel that, honestly, one of our core pillars is having people within industry teach people that want to get into industry. There's nothing wrong with the institution of education, but honestly, I will say this, that I've learned some of the most from people within industry and on the job. So that's the kind of thing Chimirus wants to provide to all you guys out there. Dave, did you have anything else you wanted to say to wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, we are a kind of resource for you. So if you're looking to get into visual development, concept art, into games, into animation, and you might need some guidance, or you're not quite sure how to break into it, or just looking for more resources to network, definitely reach out to us and schedule like a discovery call. We're happy to talk to you about your career and your path and how we might be able to help get you to the next level. We'd love to talk to you. So definitely, hit up the site, schedule a call, and we could definitely chat more from there and get you clarity on what you're trying to do in your artistic journey. So, but yeah, so thanks, Quentin, for jumping on with us and
Happy
doing
to
a
be
little
here.
bit of your magical paintings with your light and your Photoshop mojo. Again, this is definitely like a little snippet from the class, which is just chock full of, thumbnail sketching, lighting, color, mood, color scripts, like tons of information that he employs every day working for Nickelodeon, which is super awesome. But I guess if no one has any more questions, have a great night. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great night.